So he's crazy. I know you've gotten him on camera a few times, but saw where he couldn't quite spell his last name there that one time. He got nervous on camera.
All right, sports fans, it's time for our weekly episode of the Pelican Sports Report, where we get to sit down with LC head football coach Ben McLaughlin. And Coach Ben joins us today to talk about the upcoming week, and we'll be here each Wednesday night at 9 p.m., bringing you thoughts on the game that just happened, the game that's coming up, and what we can look for around the LC football team. So with that, I want to welcome in head coach Ben McLaughlin. Coach, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Good to be here in this awesome studio, and man, I just really enjoy all the coverage that you've been giving our football program, and it's really fun watching some of those stories of our players coming out, and I think they're enjoying it. And so hopefully our fans and future Wildcat football recruits out there, that they're able to keep up with us, and it's been a lot of fun.
One thing that is guaranteed is we're going to give you an in-depth look into this LC football team this season. We'll tell you some stories maybe you hadn't heard about it. We'll find some great stories along the way. You can follow us on Instagram and all of our social medias for that, even the ones that are not Tom Brady.
You're not Tom Brady. You're not Tom Brady. You're not Tom Brady.
You'll find out about that. Sure. Coach, we get a lot of great stories. When we interview these guys, it's stories of you and Coach York and Coach Mo, Coach Wood, all these guys they're talking about. But it's from a genuine love on there too. Are you seeing that this team is gelling like you wanted it to?
We do. I mean, you just showed me Bryce's video there, and that makes me smile, because some of my best memories, some of the memories that sticks out in my head, are the coaches that I know if I called right now, they would answer, them fussing at me, because it's like those are the people that you trust. Those are the people that you admire, and those are people that are coaching you. And Coach, I can remember Coach Buck running out of the stands against Mary Hardin Baylor my senior year because he was frustrated with some offensive line play. I can remember Coach Dunn's whistle. I still, when I go watch him coach at North DeSoto, when he whistles, it's like PTSD. It throws me right back into when I'm 19 years old as a freshman. And so at least lets me know that they are getting the experience that I remember when I had, and those are things that's going to stay with us. Obviously the good, and obviously some of those stories, but that's awesome that they look at them that way, and they can appreciate them even right now as they are still playing.
One of the things you talk about, these former players, you talk about former coaches that you've had, you made it a point that we're not talking about last year's team anymore. But the point that you emphasized is that this team is its own identity, and it's its own team, and there'll never be another team that is this team. What kind of a mindset are they taking on, or what kind of characteristics is this 2026 Cat team taking on?
Right. I mean, that was the thing that we tried to start with. Obviously, really appreciate how we finished the season last year. I know, you know that conference championship, tie, three-way tie, but finishing really strong in Arizona, and I'm glad that team got the celebration that it deserved,
right.
And a lot of media recognition and everything else. And that was fun, and I'm glad our college, that exposure is what you do this for. But we wanted to make sure that once we started fall camp, that boom, that's over, right? That's over. Nothing that we did last year obviously carries over, and you could probably look at a lot of teams that on paper should have been better, and then for whatever reason, whether they lost one heartbeat. I mean, look at our team in 2024. There was so many pieces that came back from that 2023 championship team. Now, losing guys like Sal, losing all-American quarterback and running back, there was some key pieces, but the overall, most everybody came back. And so losing Kylan Polk, losing a guy like Xavier Jackson, who was our blocking tight end, now is a GA. You never know which of those pieces you didn't realize what they actually did in the glue. And so I'm just telling our guys, we're not taking anything for granted. We have a lot of good things coming back on paper. We should have it should be another step in the right direction, but dang it, you got to go out and earn it every day, because there's people out there in our conference that are really talented, and they are trying now they want to be the LC story this year that we were last year.
Right.
And we've got to do our job to make sure that doesn't happen.
Well, it's a great point, too. And the recent Sooner Athletic Conference coaches poll came out. Last year, you guys were picked fifth on there. And this year, you picked second, right behind Texas Wesley. And Ottawa now is sitting at third in that. What do you look at in the Sooner Athletic Conference that says, here's somebody that wants to be that 5, 6 that's going to jump up and battle?
I mean, those coaches polls, we all know that's how it finished. They Texas Wesleyan got the automatic bid, and then we beat Ottawa at the end. So I mean, so we don't really take a whole lot out of that. But when you're looking at it, look how the team that Wayland Baptist had. I mean, that game that we were rooting for them obviously to knock Texas Wesleyan off at the end, because then we could have been that one, and that was a very competitive game.
It was close. Right.
And so they are,
and Wayland returns a lot of folks this year too. So
Coach Marcus has done a great job there, and we love that staff. We feel like they fight a lot of the same battles that we do around, and so I have a lot of respect for them and the job that Coach Marcus has done, and that whole and they're going to be and we're going to go up there. That's going to be the first road test. So
and that's that's not an easy little run either.
So but yes, the conference is great. There's Panhandle State, and coach has done a great job down there, and anytime you look at a program and there's continuity, like I'm looking at like Wayland Baptist, Panhandle State, those coaches now are going into their second, third, fourth. When you have continuity as a coaching staff, then that means you've got a program, and that means that you have a chance to make that jump like we did going in from our year 1 to year 2. So there's a lot of dangerous people out there, and so that you can throw that preseason poll away here pretty shortly.
Look, we talked about it on our show the other night. Preseason polls are what I like to line my cat box with, because it doesn't mean a lot of anything, even these preseason top 25s. But one thing that I will say about the strength of the conference, and I don't know that it's the secret that it has been in the past. Sure. It's getting a lot more nationwide among these panelists, a lot more nationwide looks because of the play that's on there.
Well, because of the play, and because we've got a really cool advocate in you right here that are fighting the battle for us. But it's about exposure.
Right.
I remember 20 years ago when Joey Harrington in Oregon, they were putting billboards in New York, because it's not that everybody knew Oregon was good back then, but eyes aren't on them because they're playing at midnight. And so with NAIA football, it's so regional. So getting the names out there, and you and 446 and y'all are doing a great job, and I appreciate that. But no doubt, we still have to.
Still got to go out and put the product out on the field too, and you still got to win a playoff game.
Correct. That's the big one, and I think we are. I think that time's coming. We talked about it with so many really good programs that are up north, and you play in November, and now we're so used to the heat and humidity, and they're playing a game there's a lot of reasons, excuses, reasons. I mean, there's a lot of reasons that I could say why we haven't crossed that barrier, but it's only a matter of time with the way the conference, I believe, is getting better and better.
Indeed it is. So let's take a look now and get that out of the way. Let's look at this season now. Your schedule, somebody looks at it and they see the Sooner Athletic Conference games. They go, oh, that's cool. That's the same thing. But out of conference, that's a big difference on there. You've got Northwestern, you've got Southern, and you bring back the battle for the Border Claw, too. How important were those games to get on the schedule?
Well, number one, it's that ETBU game. Coach Rue, again, a guy that was there as a defensive coordinator when I was the offensive coordinator back, 8 years ago here at LC. Such a great man of God, just such a great leader at that program. And like I said, he's been at ETBU for any time a coach is at the same spot for a lot of years, it means that they're doing a lot of things the right way.
That's right.
And so, Coach Rue, we were able to make this work, and we're, now with all the schedules changing, we're going to try to fight really hard to make it an annual thing. We're going to have to do some maneuvering around the schedule, but I know it was good for them. It's good for us. We recruit the same kids. It's they've been one of the best Division III programs around in a lot of years. I mean, one conference back in the 2002 they won the ASC, which is one of the best conferences in the nation. They've always been a great program with a lot of history and a lot of success. And so being right up the road, a sister school to us, it's too good for us not to make this thing a yearly thing. So we got it on the schedule this year, we got it on the schedule next year, and then we're going to work really hard, hopefully, as long as he stays there and I'm at LC, that we can keep making that thing happen.
Now, to get there, you have to go up 49 and make a cross. Going up 49, you hit Natchitoches. And that's where we'll be tomorrow night.
Yep. Obviously, we played McNeese last year. We've always, in the last 10 years or so, we've tried to play a Division I opponent. It helps us, whether you call it a money game. For a lot of ways, we played Houston Christian a couple of times.
Right.
We went out and played Stetson, and so I've reached out to the FCS schools in our state, and if you're going to play a money game, it needs to be local for a couple of reasons. Obviously, financially, it makes more sense. You're not spending this money on hotels and stuff, but the Northwestern State, McNeese. We've been talked with Southeastern, and hopefully we get some on there. They're loaded with players from Louisiana. They are loaded with former high school teammates of our kids. Those guys recruited our kids. Some of our kids may have transferred from those places. It just makes so much sense to be able to. We have so many of these schools around, and they are all need to fill their week zeros on years. And so, hopefully, as long as I'm here, we're going to always open up with a in-state Louisiana FCS program that can play us, and it really gives our kids that opportunity to go play on that Division I level.
Well, and they get to play on ESPN Plus too. They're on that national TV, which again, a reminder, our game will be audio only, and we invite you to watch it on ESPN Plus. Turn the volume down and listen to our broadcast on 446 Sports. That's just a shameless plug. We'll have a lot of fun, and don't forget, we hang out in the chat with a lot of people too that are watching, so that's an enjoyable time. To your point, Coach Falk and Southern, he says, look, these games are important to us too, because there may be one or two kids on that team that they're developing for us that we'll get that we may develop for somebody else.
Right. I mean, we tell when we recruit in today's day and age, and we don't bury our head in the sand. Like, I get it. Everybody in our locker room, first off, they want to be a starter, and they want to be an all-conference. They want to be an All-American. And I do believe everybody in that locker room wants our program this semester to be the best. But I'm not going to be dumb to think that these kids would love to go be an All-American and to go play Division I in a year. And that's just the way it goes. And so we tell our kids, here's your opportunity. Right. If you want to play at that level, well, now you've got this many reps to go beat a guy that is on that level. And so there's just so many really cool things both ways. And fostering that relationship with all these head coaches and letting them know that this is a good mutual symbiotic relationship that we can have, obviously in the recruiting side, but then giving them an early game to get them ramped up and giving us a good game that helps us financially. It just makes too much sense. And so hopefully we can keep this going year after year. We got McNeese. We had a 2-year contract with them, so we're back at McNeese next year, and then we'll be working after that to get something on the schedule.
I love it. Looking forward to that. One of those players at McNeese that we'll see was starring for you last year was All-American Colin Polk. And he's one of those success stories that you come here and was an under-recruited guy because of his size, come out here and showed what he can do on the field, and now his college is paid for. Yeah,
no doubt. Kylan, and I love Kylan. Obviously, he did so much for the LC football program as the All-American last year, but the way he represented himself, he's just first class, and the way he handled the transfer process, first class. McNeese did a great job. They reached out to us. It was full transparency, and because I would like to think that we have that reputation that we want what's best for our kids.
Right.
And obviously I want what's best for our program, but I just believe that whatever's best, if we treat kids right, then the Lord, whether you call it that, whether you call it just by coaches trusting you, they're going to keep sending us players because they know we're going to do what's best for them at all times. And so I'm super excited to hear how he's having a really good fall camp down there, and you're going to see him on their travel roster. So proud of him.
Look, that's great to see the number of local guys that are being successful all around there. And that's what you look at the state of college football, especially the NCAA, and with the 5-for-5 and what it does. And yeah, who knows, that uncertainty for recruiting in high schools is a little bit different, and so that's something that may really go into your guys's.
It does, and you mentioned local. Obviously, Colin down from Laurelville is only about an hour away, but we had the Rotary Club meeting yesterday, and I made this point. I mean, I think when I took the job a couple of years ago, I think we had Datelin and EJ were our 2 Sin-Law players. And so when we had that Rotary Club 3 years ago, I brought them to saying, hey, these are your Sin-Laws, and I told them, starting this fall camp, we had 21 Sin-Law players on this team. And so I think there's a lot to that. I'd like to think it's because we're putting a lot of emphasis of recruiting the local talent right here. But I also believe we've got players that were locally that got scholarships to go off. It didn't work out. Right. And so before they're looking elsewhere, they're like, well, I can go back home and Coach Ben and that staff, they're going to take care of us. And so that's what we want to do. That's what I feel like that's what our role as an NAIA program is meant for, is to treat kids right, great competition, and be that place that kids know that they can trust that they're going to come to us and we're going to help them out.
Well, it'll be on display tomorrow night as we make the trip up I-49 to Northwestern State University, and Coach Blaine McCorkle and the Demons, the program getting better every season, every week that they are too. But let's look at the team that you bring up there too. Tell me a little bit about this travel squad that you've got. What are we going to see in the 2 deep? As we all know, you've got probably more starters returning than anybody else does on there. So tell us a little bit offensively what we're going to see along that line and the running backs and quarterback and such.
Yeah, offensively, I was talking to a real good friend of mine, Vince Giardina, who's the wide receivers coach at Charleston Southern, was our offensive coordinator here back, and was a great and we were talking about it. He just said, especially at their level, everybody's playing with new people because if they have a good young freshman, they move up. Yep. And so he said, there may not be another team in the nation that's returning. I mean, we're returning 10 offensive starters. So the team that you're going to see are going to be familiar. Now, Bryce changed numbers. I think ex Butler changed numbers. So the numbers may be different, but the names are going to be very similar and being the same. I mean, you've got all of our starting offensive linemen are coming back. Obviously, our starting quarterback's coming back.
Right. And Perk, look, he lit up when we talked about the offensive line coming back. It was great. And Coach, one of the things that we asked him, would you rather block for a 200-yard game or a 300-yard passing game? And it was get the win. Yeah. That's what came out of it.
No doubt. And that's what, all of our receivers, our 4 receivers that got the majority of the reps are all back, and EJ and Darius and Omar and X, like we talked about. Right. They're all coming back. Our top 2 running backs, and Joe Johnson and Datelin, obviously, both coming back. Our third back was with us last year, so our third back is a returner, and so we did lose our blocking tight end, Xavier, as I mentioned earlier, who's a GA, and so, but we've got a couple of guys, 2 of them that are returning that got some playing time, and then we got a good freshman in Grayson Thibodeau from Ash that's going to see a lot of playing time at that position. He's playing basically the same position that he played at Ash. It's a pretty easy transition.
And look, that is great because that system has stayed consistent since your time there too, and so it's just more and more developing on there too. What I liked about that offense, they get better every day because they're going up against the defense that's allowed 8 points a game down the stretch last year in the last 4, 5, 6 games in that too. So defensively, they're making each other better, but talk to us about that defense.
Yeah, I mean, look, I want to say it's so hard on defense because they probably rotate more guys than offense does. So when you're talking about returning starters, it's a little bit of a hazy, but 8 is a good number. Right. We lost Nate Sullivan as a starting corner. We lost Kylan, who was a safety. We lost, Kendall Rowan was a senior outside linebacker, and so, but both of our inside backers are really. You talked with Trace the other day. I mean, we feel like we have 5 inside linebackers that could start for any team in this conference. Right. And I know that gets frustrated from them, but I'm so proud of Trace and Christian, who are going to be redshirt juniors, and they are good enough to be multi-year starters here, and so they're going to be on a good fresh rotation there. David Voorhees and Jason Coleman are 2 guys that Jason basically rotated with Nate over there. So I feel like even though we lost Nate, this guy played a whole lot at corner last year. And then obviously you got
Voorhees had such an interception in that spring game on the first play. He jumps around. I was like, I think he's played more physical than I saw him last year as well. He really looks like he's primed for a big season.
Corner is so frustrating as a head coach because how do you vouch for someone to be the best corner when they don't have stats? And they don't have stats because nobody throws their way. So it's so hard, from that side of it. But David is he's been basically a 4-year starter for this program, and he doesn't talk a lot. Right. So you may not, if you can get him to open up on an interview, I would love to see that. But he's really quiet, but he is such a physical specimen out there at corner, and he's a guy that's going to lock down most of the best receivers that we play, and so he's and he loves that challenge, and so he does a great job. And then BJ Brandon Johnson, who's the number 7, is kind of he's the quarterback of the defense. He's the guy that you hear he's the motivator over there, and so he had a great year last year and came back. Obviously Kylan had the year that he had. Right. If Kylan would have just had an average year, I think BJ would have been a first or second team all conference because he had those stats, but they can't give it to both safeties there.
That's correct.
So losing Kylan was hard, but then we have Jaden Jones, JJ, who was a 2-year starter before. He was out last year with his injury. And so even though we lost Kylan, I feel like we replaced him with a returning starter. And so and then our D line's all coming back. We lost Jay Wash, who was a nose guard. but we got those, and then we added 2 freshmen. And Omarion Smith and Corin Scott that I think are going to be in that rotation. We feel like we've got 8 or 9 guys that we can be on a rotation there and keep them all fresh.
And here's what I think. You had a great core on the defensive line, but I think where fatigue might have set down in the middle of the game sometimes because you didn't have that big rotation. Right. And we talked to Coach Mo a lot this year, and he said, hey, look, he's got more depth, he thinks, than he's ever had it there.
He really does. Recruiting defensive line at our level is difficult.
Right.
Defensive linemen, obviously offensive linemen, and tight ends are all really difficult because if you've got a 6'3", 6'4", 225-pound tight end that can run and catch, he's playing in Baton Rouge. Those guys don't. Colin Polk slipped through the cracks because you can be a good safety at 5'9", 5'10", 165 pounds. You can be a great safety. But D-line, if you've got the size and it jumps off on film, you're getting the one. So a lot of our D linemen there was something missing. They're 20 or 30 pounds too light, whatever it might be, but they're a lot of times better players than these guys that go play Division I. They just get overlooked because of guys like John.
Yeah.
And so
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
You turn in and you look across your starting lineup and then you see one that's 5'7".
Right.
But will go up again, and your eyes have been opened about Jonathan Morladay.
When you look at the 2 deep, you see the height and the weight, and it's like, okay, nothing special. But then when you see the play film and you watch them play, it's like, oh, no, they have a. So that is where at D-line it becomes, because you're never going to have that one dude that's just 6'3", 300 pounds. You're just not going to have that
campus
guy.
Here.
Right, you're not going to have that. But you're going to have guys like John, guys like Isaiah Jones, like Colton Sharp. Ted Jackson, who came in and has been a multi-year all-conference player for us. Oh, he's crazy. I know you've gotten him on camera a few times, but saw where he couldn't quite spell his last name there that one time. He got nervous on camera.
We have a lot of fun with these guys. We've gotten to know them a lot better this season, I'll tell you.
But but I wouldn't trade those guys for anybody because of how they are Division I caliber players that we are just lucky enough that they got slipped through the cracks on. And so, but that D-line is going to be fun to watch.
Look, and oh, by the way, you have probably somebody that's going to make a run at Defensive Player of the Year in the conference in Oglesby, in Jordan Oglesby. He is just a dude.
Yep, returning first-team all-conference inside linebacker, and Judd right beside him. They both graduated, and we thought after the season was over that they were both going to move on and go.
Right.
And then we had Trace and Christian right behind them, and so we felt good.
Right.
But then when Judd came first and said, I think I want to do it, and of course, Judd, come on, returning inside backer. And then Jordan kind of at about mid-spring, he reached out and said, hey, I think I may want to come back and do the Masters thing.
Did you ever have to think about it and say, I don't know, we might be full at backer?
Right. No, you 100%. And look, and I told Trace and Christian, and they are, first off, those 2 guys are 2 of the best teammates. They're both on leadership council. That is a physical position.
That's right.
It's like, that's why in running backs you don't just want you can't. Like, if we're lucky again and we stay super healthy, it's great. But football happens sometimes, and so we know at the running back position and at that inside linebacker position, the 2 most physical positions on the field as far as how running and getting hit and taking hits, we are deep, and that's where you want to be deep at.
Look, and another thing, and maybe we skipped over it a little bit too. We talked about Perk at quarterback on there, but the 2 guys right behind him, I think that's upped his game a little bit because he's getting pushed by Phillip Jones and by MJ back there because those guys can get after it.
Yeah, PJ and MJ both. I know I'm not trying to be negative to anybody in our conference. So, but I believe that all 3 of those guys could walk on any team in our conference and could really push to be a starting quarterback. Yeah. And I know that is a problem because, especially at the quarterback position, when you only can play one, and there's not much of a rotation there. Like in D lineman, I can play 9 of them, and they're all happy. At quarterback, you can't do that. And so I'm so impressed with both of those young men, PJ and MJ, because they love the program, and and I do think our staff, we treat them right, and they feel that genuine love, and so they gave this, and they're here. And again, at quarterback, we talk about it all the time, and I tell these kids all the time, football is such an unfair sport because so many people, we're going to have 65 people on the travel roster.
Right.
You have 150 people on the whole team. You've got our staff and all the days that you put into work. And if you don't have a good backup quarterback and that quarterback goes down for any reason, it can be all for naught. It's hard to win without a quarterback that's good enough to be a starter. And so I feel like, and so we do our best to put them on some of the best scholarships because it's super important. Maybe not, hopefully Bryce plays well, stays healthy, and we're all good. But having both those guys, I can sleep better at night knowing that we're covered.
But it doesn't even have to be injury, but illness. I mean, anything could pop up. And if you've got somebody that you're unsure of at quarterback, you talk about changing the outlook of your season. Right. But I think 1, 2, or 3, you're pretty comfortable with it.
Yeah, they are, and they. Here's the best thing: those quarterbacks' room can be contentious in some locker rooms because you're competing, and even though they're all competitive, and I know if they would tell you they all want to be and think they're good enough to be a starting quarterback, but when you get them together, they're talking to each other, they're helping each other. Bryce has came to me and said, I think we need to get PJ. This could be really good. I mean, he's trying to find ways to get these guys to help us because. They're great kids, they're great men, they're great teammates, and so look, I'm not going to show all of our tricks here, but there's going to be some things that those guys are going to do for us this year that's going to cause some defensive coordinators to work a little bit extra.
Well, in the times that I've done the Thomas Bachman show, we make it a point that we don't give out a lot of information until post-game when they see it. So, yeah, we're well-versed on that. Well, Coach, looking forward to it. I want to touch real quick on Levi Hilborn. He's gone. But I don't think you drop off at all with returning sophomore Preston Baker.
Yeah, Preston. And look, Preston's the opposite problem at quarterback. So he is great, but he's our one and only right now. Right. And so I tell him he's got to walk around and I'm going to get this bubble made for him because he cannot go out and get hurt. He can't get sick. He needs to take his vitamin C, all the stuff.
Because don't go try to make a tackle.
Right? No doubt. So we, he's going to be our punter. He's going to be our field goal kicker. He's going to be our kickoff guy. And he was an all-conference second team, I believe, all-conference punter last year.
Right.
Did a great job
as a freshman.
As a true freshman. Yeah. There's nobody on our team that works harder than Preston. I'm talking in the weight room, not just at his craft. He is a football player. And so he's going to have a great year and looking forward. Now we've got to find ways to, in this next year, we've got to really go out and try to find somebody because I don't sleep very well knowing that at any moment, if something happened there, we're going to have to make some real adjustments. But God, Lord willing, we're able to keep him healthy, and if we keep him healthy, he's going to have an amazing year.
All right, Coach, we won't get into previews or anything like that, but you got a pretty big one tomorrow night. Take us through that Northwestern game.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you get on a bus to go play a Division I opponent, there's definitely a different, unique way that you got to approach it because I'm coaching 18 to 22-year-old men, and they're getting on a bus to go win a game, and you want your kids to have that supreme confidence that if we were going to go play the Dallas Cowboys, they're going to go win the game, and so it really just becomes in how we talk about it. We talk about don't try to go out and beat a Division I opponent on the first play in the first quarter. Like all they've got to do is to go out and trust their coaching and win a rep. We talked earlier about what I love about these games are they're playing against maybe former teammates in high school. Right. They're playing against guys that they played against in high school. And I told them, guys, go look at your high school and go find somebody that's playing in Division I right now that you beat in high school. Just go look at it because you proved that you can do it. And so to beat a game like this, it's not about can an NAIA beat Division I. It's can the right tackle beat their defensive end in this play. And at the same time, can the right guard also win? And then if you add all those up, then you've got a play that you've just won. And then if you win a lot of plays, well, now this is where you can say you're putting drives together to win quarters, and you put quarters together to win halves, and you put halves together to win games. And so let's don't win the whole game right now. Let's go and win it and win a couple of reps. And so I think they've really taken to that. And so we're going to get on a bus and we're going to go try to win that first kickoff, and then we're going to go from there.
Look, I love this. All of the guys that I talk to, they're not going up there just to try the meat pies. They are looking for, and they're looking for win. I don't know that I've seen the confidence level of a team like it is going into the entire season, but they seem prepared for it.
They are. And again, I don't want to throw water on that fire of confidence, but I also got to understand there is, when I don't want them to feel entitled either, because like we talked earlier, everything has to be re-earned this year in 2026. And so, but I have this sense that it's a confidence, but it's the right one. And so I'm looking forward to seeing them go out and playing because that we call it in coach's term, haze in the barn. I mean, the work from our side's done. Now we get to go and watch them do what they've been preparing to do, some of them for their whole lives.
Right. Coach, that game being on tomorrow night, being a Thursday night, 2 days earlier than you normally play, had to adjust your schedule back. So earlier today, you had your Fast Friday.
Yeah, it really, a fan may not realize how much of a change, but as football coaches, and we're such creatures of habit, and so we have our days are planned out, our weeks, our months are planned out, and so we had to have our Tuesday practice on Sunday evening.
Right.
So that adjustment was definitely made. It makes it nice that it's the first one. Those Thursday games that some of these Division I's play in the middle of the season, I don't see how they can cram that weekend.
Because you're coming off of a Saturday,
right,
and a lot of times you're traveling. If you're coming back from a Wayland Baptist, you know what time you're getting back into campus on Sunday morning.
Right. So at least this is the very beginning, so that it wasn't as much of an adjustment. But yeah, it definitely does feel different. Tomorrow's going to be game day, but the good thing is, and here's where I thought it was awesome for Coach McCorkle's staff and us, is now we get a Friday night where we get to go recruit. Right. We don't get to go out and do that on Saturday. Now we got the Bayou Jam up in Monroe on Saturday and all those awesome games.
Right.
Well, I bet some Northwestern State coaches are going to be there recruiting too. So this early Thursday game was awesome in a lot of ways, and so but it definitely does change us, and it makes us get out of our routine a little bit.
What is your game day routine for a road trip, knowing that it's not that big of a road trip on there, 45 minutes up? I know there's a lot of things that you'll do here on campus that you won't do up there. What does your day look like?
Yeah, look, overall, Coach Maddox, the former head coach at LC, is a military guy, and I loved what he said. We were coordinators back 10 years ago or so when Coach Dunn was the head coach and Coach Charles. But he made this point to where, in the military, you spend as little time as possible in enemy territory.
Right.
You get in, you get out. And so we take that same mindset. Even when in our hotel, we try to, we want to show up, and we don't want to show up just to hang out and lounge around. So we want to show up, do what we got to do, and get out. And so we're going to eat pregame meal in our cafeteria. We're gonna basically get there, tape pregame, and we're going to play, and we're going to get home. And so that is one thing that's obviously even Southern 2 hours away is a little bit different than 45 minutes up the road. So this makes it it basically is a home game experience for us for all intents and purposes. So it makes it nice.
All right, last question that we have for you too. It's your Wednesday night. You get out of here, you go back home. What keeps you up tonight? Or are you sleeping good? You sleeping okay?
Well, most nights it's going to be my 8-year-old daughter. That she's going to be the reason. So those are the good reasons. So no, at the end of the day, this is our job. It's our profession. I love this job, and you just want to know that the team that you're leading represents your university the right way. We want to make sure that we represent our coaching staff the right way, that we're playing with the effort that we would like to think that we're instilling every day. So, we at this point, as much as we know wins and losses are huge in this business. I mean, if we don't get enough wins, you're looking for another job. And we understand that. But to build a program, you've got to be process oriented. Right. And so, as long as I feel like our program and our players and our coaches are doing the right things that winners do. There's a difference of being a winner and winning. And winning is nice, but we want to make sure that we are winners in the way we live and the way we go about our business. And so just making sure that our program and our players and our coaches are doing everything necessary that represents the values that we want. And if we do that, and I have confidence that we will, but that's the only thing, because the players are going to play. They're going to put it on the field. Players win games. This is a player's game, not a coach's game. So they're going to be able to handle all that, but just making sure we're living up to the standard that we set for ourselves.
Well, I love it. Coach, thanks for joining us tonight. We'll be here each Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Don't forget, it'll be the LC Wildcat Football Report with head coach Ben McLaughlin. We'll have some of the players in here, but it means that today that we're less than 24 hours from kickoff in week 0. Excited about having it here. Coach, thank you for stopping by. Look forward to visiting with you each Wednesday.
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
Guys, join us here each and every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. It is the LC Wildcat Football Report with head coach Ben McLaughlin live from the dugout. So for Coach Ben McLaughlin, I am Doug Gann. God bless you all, and we'll see you next time.